YouTube, welcome back to the channel. You are watching GunplayTV, and today on the table we've got yet another optic from the guys at Holosun. Now, Holosun, having emerged on the scene here in recent years and have slowly climbed the rank to become something of a household name. These things are becoming increasingly popular and the price point is ever competitive. Now, the EPS Carry is the latest from Holosun in their K series of optics, which of course is going to be aimed at, no pun intended, your more compact variety subcompact pistols. That category, of course, is going to include your SIG P365s, your Canik Mete MC9s, your Smith & Wesson Shields, Springfield Hellcats, and the list goes on, right? And so what this brings to the table that's unique from other K series optics is the fact that this is actually going to be a closed emitter red dot, right? And of course, that's also increasingly becoming popular here in the industry. So before we break into this box, I'm gonna ask that if you haven't already, you pause this video now, scroll down, take a look for that subscribe button, and once you've found it, go ahead and give that a click for me. I do appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get straight into it.
Reach for the sky.
All right, so the Holosun EPS Carry, of course, EPS standing for enclosed pistol sight. That's essentially what we're getting in the box. Now, of course, this is the carry variety. It's going to be slightly slimmer than the full-size EPS, as well as a bit smaller than the Holosun 509, which is kind of their full-size closed emitter offering, and we'll take a look at those side by side. But as we break into this, right, I'll kind of go through some of the features. Of course, you're going to get a green reticle with this particular platform. They do, of course, come in red or green. I've opted to go green this time, kind of trying to switch it up. Now, of course, you are going to have two selectable modes out of the box, manual and lockout. Now, they do make a version of the EPS Carry, which is going to be equipped with the solar up top, right? And that's, of course, going to give you solar backup, solar failsafe, if you will, as well as the ability to auto-adjust based on ambient light conditions. This particular model that we have here in front of us does not have the solar, and therefore only those two selectable modes. Now, of course, this is actually going to take a 1620 battery, and it's going to be a side mounted battery tray, which we can see there on the side. That's probably one of the main claims to fame from Holosun, because you do not have to remove this optic from your slide to replace that battery, which of course means you are not going to have to lose your zero just because your battery died. So that is certainly nice there. Furthermore, of course, you are going to have 12 brightness settings, 8 of which are going to be daylight, 4 of which are going to be night vision compatible. And they claim that at setting 6, you get up to 50,000 hours out of that battery. Now that's quite a bit, and in keeping with the other Holosun optic performances, if you will. They claim that the spherical glass, which they've used in this particular optic, it's going to bring you zero distortion. We'll take a look at that here in a bit. And of course, you do have a memory function and the shake awake feature that you get with Holosuns, which of course is always going to help to extend that battery life. In addition to that, of course, right, we said parallax free is going to include an RMS CC optics plate if for whatever reason your slide is cut for that particular platform, and it is going to be IPX8 waterproof. So all that, right, kind of a mouthful, essentially just to describe this tiny pistol dot. Now, again, this is the dot only option. When you upgrade to the solar variety, you will have that solar panel up top. And in addition to having that solar backup and the ability to automatically adjust the dot's brightness to ambient lighting conditions, you are also going to get a second reticle option, which of course is going to include a circle around your dot. So this of course is the dot only model, and the circle dot option of course will allow you to run the dot alone, the circle alone, or the circle and dot in unison. So that is of course an option that you can consider. It does come in at a bit of a price premium, being that this is going to go on a concealed carry platform. I figured, hey, the solar is nice, but it's probably not needed in this case, right? So what we'll do for now is got a couple screws here in the box, right, of various lengths to accommodate various slides. We'll put that aside, and of course, we will retain our Holosun adjustment tool there. So taking a tour around the Holosun EPS Carry, it's pretty straightforward, right? This is essentially a shrunk down Holosun 509, or more technically, this is a shrunk down Holosun EPS, which of course is kind of a little brother to the full size 509, which we have here on the SIG P320, right? So we can see those things side by side, quite a difference in size. And what you'll also notice, the first thing that jumps out to me is the thickness or lack thereof of this particular optic base. Now, what that's gonna mean is it can sit lower on your slide, and because with these K series optics, they like to include a built-in iron sight at the rear, this is going to better help you co-witness with your existing irons without having to make the jump to suppressor height sights, which of course is value add, right? Furthermore, of course, right, 2 panels of glass, one on the back, one on the front, and you've got your rubberized enclosed buttons there on the side. Again, pretty standard for Holosun. We mentioned that removable battery tray there on the right side. And of course, you do have your knobs for windage and elevation, both on the top and on the right side of the Optic. All in all, pretty straightforward. This is essentially what we've come to expect from Holosun, but miniaturized for a smaller platform. So what I'm gonna do now is, of course, off camera, I'm going to be placing this on my SIG P365 XL, which as we can see at the moment is both empty and naked, right? And so this should slap right on there in the slot. Of course, I'm gonna do that off camera just to make sure that the YouTube police are happy, and we'll sync back up here in a bit. Stand by. All right, guys, and we are back. You can see I've got my Loctite on the table because I just locked this thing down. Now, it's worth noting the screws that are included with the Holosun EPS Carry do, in fact, include Loctite, but if you're anything like me, I like to go ahead and top it off myself. So I've got that locked down. Just as a note for those of you who may be installing this on a similar platform, I did go ahead and use the RMR plate. Now, reason being, if you try to lock this thing down without that plate, what you'll find is you're able to get it nice and torqued down there at the rear where the screws are mounted, but the front of that Optic will kind of still be a bit loose. Reason being, the slide on the P365 does not actually include the posts which help to stabilize it on the slide. Now, those posts are present on the RMR CC plate that is included with the EPS, so I went ahead and slapped that on here. Now, aside from that, let's go ahead and verify that the firearm is clear and safe. Of course it is, and with that, we can take a look down the slide. Now, that dot is nice and crisp. Again, this is just the dot variation of this particular product. You can get this with the dot circle if that is kind of your thing. I figured with a carry gun, all I really needed was the dot, and I went with the 2 MOA model. They do also have this particular Optic in a 6 MOA variant, and that of course is going to provide you with a larger dot. My theory is that if I want a larger dot, I can simply crank up the brightness. So I'd rather have that precision, and if I need a larger dot, I can crank the brightness up to maximum, and for all intents and purposes, that gives me a larger dot. But all in all, I am very pleased with the Optic. It sits very nicely on this particular platform, and you can actually see that I scraped it up a bit while I was installing the screws using an oversized screwdriver. That's not really a problem for me. I actually use these guns, and I expect that they'll incur a fair amount of scuffing over time anyway, so character marks from me. I will also point out that with my particular setup, using the RMR CC plate at very least, I do not get a true co-witness on this particular platform. Now, I know there are firearms out there that have a slightly lower cut, and that built-in iron sight that comes with your EPS Carry is going to be very, very useful. Also for some of the older P365 XLs, which when you mount an Optic, you have to remove that rear sight. Of course, that's gonna be nice to have there, but for my particular platform, not really a value add. So the EPS Carry, is it for you or is it not for you, right? Of course, that's going to depend on your use case. I think that if you've got one of these new kind of slimline compact pistols, the K series of optics from Holosun is going to suit you well across the board, right? Whether that be a 407K, an EPS, or otherwise, right? Just because these things come in that slimmer form factor, they're going to accommodate your slide a lot better. And frankly, a lot of manufacturers are going with that K footprint. So you can't really go wrong in that regard. The real question comes when you evaluate whether or not you want an open emitter or closed emitter design. For me, I like to go closed emitter, especially with a concealed carry firearm. Reason being is this thing is tucked up against your belly all day. It's under your t-shirts, under your sweaters, what have you. And what I found happens when I was actually using my Holosun 507 ACSS was that a lot of dust, a lot of belly button lint, what have you, collects behind that front glass. And of course, it's not a huge deal, right? Every now and then you pop it out, you wipe it down. Of course, Holosun kind enough to include a microfiber cleaning cloth for that purpose. However, it's nice not to have to worry about that. Also, it's worth considering, right? If you are ever out in the field and you're using one of these optics, you don't have to worry about mud, snow, rain, debris, what have you, finding its way into the optic and blocking the emitter, which is something that can happen. Myself personally, I've been outdoors training in the rain before, and I've had, while that pistol is on my side, again, this is kind of a duty situation, I had water fall into that optic, right? And when I went to present, the dot was scattered in a million directions and it was more or less useless in that scenario. So that's kind of the upside, if you will, to having a closed emitter optic. Now, of course, you know, that's becoming more and more popular here in the industry, right? The Aimpoint Acro P2 finally having fixed its battery issues, the Holosun 509, and of course the Holosun EPS, which is a hair bigger than this, of course, are going to find themselves more at home on larger duty size pistols, right? But if you've got a smaller sidearm, right, a micro compact, if you will, such as this P365X Macro, there really are no closed emitter options other than the EPS Carry, and for that reason, it gets a stamp of approval off rip, simply because it's filling a void in the market that nobody else is touching at the moment. Add on to that, right, the ability to have the solar failsafe. I'm sure there'll be ACSS variations of this model to come down the line, and the value proposition just gets better and better. It's really hard to beat Holosun nowadays, right? A lot of folks like to knock on them because they are built in China, but like I've said before, and I'll say it again, the phone you're watching this on is probably built in China, and that in and of itself is enough to say that China doesn't only make shit products, right? And the Holosun line has, over the years, continually proved itself to be reliable and well made. So that's gonna wrap it up for this one, guys. Go down in the comments and let me know what you think about the Holosun EPS Carry. Do you have one? Are you looking to grab one? Or are there some options that I've overlooked that might overshadow this particular Optic offering? Of course, if you haven't managed to do so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment, because it really helps to push these videos through the algorithm. And with all that being said, I'm gone.